everyone, it's Nichol Spohr here today for Simon Says Stamp with a rainbow no-line coloring card featuring the Follow the Rainbow image from the April 2020 card kit and the Clouds for Days stencil, also part of the kit. Today we're going to do some no-line coloring, taking the gorgeous image from the stamp set and positioning it on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panel of Bristol Smooth cardstock. This is the cardstock that I love for no-line coloring with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. After I've positioned the stamp where I want it to go, I'm inking it up with some Fawn Jellyfish ink. I love this ink for no-line coloring. It's going to give you a faint line that's still easy to see, but yet not overpower the image. Once I have that stamped, I'm going to go ahead and take my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, or pardon me, first we're going to stencil with our stencil and then we will go in with our Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I'm using a little repositionable tape to hold my background down while I figure out placement for my Clouds for Days stencil. We're going to take some Fawn Manatee ink and a blending brush, and without masking, I am just going to ink these clouds with this light gray ink. I'm not going to ink over the stamped image, but I'm not going to worry if some of the ink gets in that area. Our coloring should cover up any of those lines as long as there isn't anything harsh. I'm going to go ahead and add the clouds to several areas all over the background, as you can see here. This panel will fit a standard A2 size card base, and we're going to add a fun little decorative inlay die cut border, one of my very favorite techniques once we have everything colored. I did have a little bit of color go outside my stencil line where I didn't want it, so I did take a sand eraser and remove that line immediately. I find that if you catch something like that pretty quickly, oftentimes you can remove it. So let's add just another cloud, I think, maybe just one more before we start our coloring. Actually, I think I'll do a couple more. Let's add one up here at the top and then one down kind of in the lower left. I really love how the clouds look in the background against this girl with the umbrella. I've purposely left a space on the bottom right where I can stamp my sentiment, but I don't want to stamp that until I have figured out where my die is going to go to die cut that little thin frame for the inlay. Next, we are going to start coloring in the umbrella image. My favorite way to color in the umbrella image is rainbow color, of course. So bright and colorful. I want something super cheerful. And with the sentiments in this and how you can build lots of different sentiments with the Follow the Rainbow stamp set, I just feel like cheerful colors are such a fun and happy look. I am starting with my darker pink, the two pink colors I'm using. In this case, I'm using peach pink and sugared almond pink. And I kind of traced out the shape and then added a little bit more of that peach pink, and I'm pulling and blending out the sugared almond pink from the dark color to get my shading. Now where it kind of meets in the middle, I'm then going to take the colorless blender. This is called the blender pen. There's no color to it. And I'm going to kind of pull those colors together, leaving a nice faint area where they meet. The next section is carmine red and light carmine. Again, we're going to do the same thing where we trace out this section of the umbrella, kind of pull down and pull up the dark color, and then we're going to take our light carmine and pull that color out for our blending and finish with the blender where my colors meet. I like to keep a piece of scrap paper handy so I can continuously clean the tip of my lighter markers so that I'm not pulling too much of that dark color in and losing the awesome effect of the shading. Next section is orange and pale orange. I did make sure before I started to kind of go around and count the sections of the umbrella and plan out my colors. So I have pink, red, orange, yellow. That's going to be the yellow and bright yellow I'm doing right now. The next section will be green, then mint or aqua, blue, and finally purple. I wanted to make sure I planned it out prior to starting coloring in case I needed to fill in with some additional shades. For example, the blue section, or the kind of the blue-green section, we've got green that goes to aqua that goes to blue. We have pink and red. It always just kind of depends on how many different sections you have to color, kind of how many color combinations you need to add. The green section is light green and yellow green. And then I'm just going to skip over to the purple section really quick. This is light violet and violet. With using a water-based marker like this, I recommend trying to keep your hand out of the ink as much as possible. So you will notice I'm flipping my paper a lot. I tend to kind of lay my hand down when coloring. I do it when writing as well. And so I always have to make a real conscious effort to not lay my hand in the ink as I've colored because it can smear. The next section is light blue and blue. And then we're going to finish with turquoise green and green shadow. Such a pretty umbrella. I love how this turns out. And then with the light gray clouds in the background, it's really, you can kind of start to see how this beautiful image is going to take shape and how this scene is going to come together. For the raincoat, I kind of think of it as a raincoat here. I am doing bright yellow and yellow, so I'm going to kind of trace out the design with my bright yellow marker. And then I will go back in with yellow and blend that out. I'm kind of pulling up a little bit from some certain areas with my bright yellow marker. And again, just kind of try to get that shading just so with minimal markers. And then the blender where those colors meet. Dark gray and light gray are going to be used for the belt and then the little button center of the umbrella. I'm going to go back in with a little bright yellow and add in some more detail to the pleats in the raincoat or the dress. Beige and flesh color are what I used for the skin of the legs. Very, very quick and easy coloring here. And then for her high heels, we're going to go back to the dark gray and light gray that we used for the belt. And I want to make sure I trace these really carefully so we don't lose the detail of the heels. And then just kind of blend that up and out. Perfect. Now for the ground, I want to add to the ground part of this. So I'm going to take my T ruler and just my dark gray marker and kind of draw that line in really light with a really light hand. And then I'm going to blend that out with light gray and take my light blue and blue markers for the water puddle that she's standing in or walking through, however you want to look at that. So kind of just tracing out the water puddle itself with light blue, making little droplets with my blue marker, and then we'll blend out this with the blender as well. Now there's a perfect little spot for the sentiment. You can kind of see it there over to the right along the bottom edge, right above that little landscape line. So we'll get to that in a bit. Now there are some raindrops and little slash like rain wind lines or whatever you want to call them there. So I'm going to go in and color in the raindrops with blue and light blue. And then all of those little slashing lines, we're going to take the light gray marker and trace those really quick to add a little bit more of an emphasis to those. And there is the image all colored. We're going to take an A2 Thin Frames die. This is a Simon Says stamp die, and we're going to die cut this really thin little frame right from our background. We're going to discard that frame then and replace it with a frosted silver frame. You could do this any color, but I like to just kind of draw the eye into the center, but not lose a ton of that background. So around that outer part that we've die cut, that still has a little bit of the color and stuff on it, we're going to just take some double-sided adhesive and go all the way around. And a little tip for this, I did remove one whole strip of the backing paper for the adhesive along one side, but what actually works better is if you lift it up and kind of fold it over on itself. So let me make sure I can get this lifted up really quick. And then I'm just going to bend it back, and I'm just kind of halfway bend it back, and I'm going to do that on the remaining 3 sides. I should have done that on all 4 sides. Now this gives you somewhere to hold on to where you haven't removed it yet, and you can line it up with your white top fold card base. And once you have it where it's going to go, just carefully peel away the backing paper and your frame will be exactly in place. Then I'm going to take that frosted silver frame that I went ahead and took the A2 die and die cut it again from this frosted silver cardstock. We're going to draw a thin line of glue right inside of the first frame and then carefully inlay this frame into place. And I'm just going to work slowly and position that very, very carefully. And finally, we will finish by taking the middle panel and we're going to pop that in place by placing adhesive all over inside the card and gluing that down. Now I saved stamping the sentiment until this part. That way I didn't accidentally die cut through that with the A2 Thin Frames die. So now that I kind of see how it's all going to look, we will take our Misty and position the card base into our Misty, line up the sentiments that we're going to use for this card, and stamp those with VersaFine ONYX black ink. I did this, I used After the Storm Comes the Rainbow and Thinking of You. And in the Thinking of You outline, we are going to color this in rainbow as well. So kind of using the darker color down near the base of the letter and pulling up with our lighter color so it has that ombre effect in each letter. The final thing I'm going to do for my card today is add a scattering of silver mini little confetti pieces all over the background to add a little extra shimmer and shine and embellishment to the design. I'm going to take little dabs of Ranger Multi-Matte Medium Glue and add those all over my background, and then take a crystal katana and these great little silver confetti pieces and glue them in place. We'll even glue a couple of them on top of the umbrella and have them kind of coming in from the upper right corner scattered down to the left side of the sentiment. This little touch of sparkle and fun adds a great little embellishment to an otherwise very flat card design. This card is going to be super easy to put in the mail because it doesn't have anything that's really going to get caught up in the electronic systems that the post office uses. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this rainbow no-line coloring card featuring the Simon Says Stamp April 2020 card kit, Follow the Rainbows. The supplies I used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please be sure to visit the Simon Says Stamp blog for more information on this card. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.